Obviously, you want things to go as well as they can on Saturday, but how much do you want maybe your guys to be put in some tough spots and see how they kind of react to a little bit of adversity at least?
You do, yeah. You absolutely want to see adversity, and it shows up in a lot of different ways. Number one, just tackling. We got to tackle. The yards and the points are real now. And that's why you reach a point where you can only accomplish so much by practicing, and you got to go play because there's that extra level of accountability when the games show up. So we're ready to go and hook up with somebody else.
Can you see yourself redshirting any freshmen on defense?
It's not something we've thought about at this point. Right now, the plan is let's go play.
Manny, where do you think your defense is going into the season in terms of their ability to create turnovers and obviously the influence of doing that for the whole season?
Well, we try to stress habit over inspiration, and we feel like we have created good habits in the way that we've knocked the turnovers out. That should give our players confidence that ought to continue when we get into the game, but now they got to go do it. So that's something that it's been a big point of emphasis with us, and I want to see it happen on the field now.
Do you feel like you have any responsibility because the defense as a whole, there's a new quarterback who hasn't played very much to kind of even go that much harder?
I wouldn't say that would really change the way we feel one way or the other. I think we have our standard that we feel like we have to meet. Part of our standard is to be a servant defense to the offense, which in terms of getting the ball back to them in positive field position, and for us creating 3 and outs and trying to flip the field. So, really, whoever is playing offense, whoever's playing quarterback, we really don't pay a lot of attention to that.
Since naming Michael Jackson one of the starters at cornerback, have you seen a response from some of the younger guys who might have got some playing time last year? At corner, like Malik Young, Manny, guys like that.
Yeah, Jackson was the most consistent. He'll start on our base package, but on our nickel package, Bandy starts at nickel and Malik starts back on the outside. So we have a way to utilize a lot of guys. And I think the biggest point we're trying to make to our defense right now, with us kicking off at 12:30, okay, and we did not play a day game in the first 2 months of the season at home a year ago, we need our depth. So, again, they all look at 1s and 2s. Anyone who crosses as one of our 11 is a 1 for us. So we cannot have that drop-off, especially in the back end. Where you can't really prepare them in a game one, what kind of adjustments you have to make, what kind of motions and formations you're going to see. We really don't know. So they've got to be sound in the rules. They got to be confident that if all of a sudden the guy goes in motion, we know exactly what check to make, because if not, we can put the entire defense in jeopardy.
With Delaney being a new guy here, was it difficult for him to slide into a leadership role right away with guys he didn't really know?
I think it's an ongoing process. In his room, I think early on, he was able to really capture the room with the way that he went about and prepared. I always say the locker room will always, first and foremost, be impressed by your work ethic and your toughness. So he came in, he established both of those things. Now, the next step for him is to take a leadership role in our entire defense, because we don't have a lot of guys in our secondary who've played a lot. So we really want him to now expand his sphere of influence outside of the corner room into the entire secondary and then into the entire defense.
Manny, one of the things that Mark mentioned yesterday was just kind of how Mike Jack just never let himself get down after getting beat out by 3 freshmen last year. He gets the start this week. I mean, what kind of growth have you seen from him, not just in camp, but just from last year to where we are now?
I'm always excited to see player development, right? Because we want to pretend like in recruiting that they're all finished products and what they are the first day is what they're going to become, and that's just not the case. These young men, they all develop in different timetables in different ways. The first thing with Mike Jack was his tackling. When we got here, we said we've got to tackle as a secondary, and Mike was not a very good tackler a year ago. He was not a guy we felt like we could put him in a one-on-one situation with the end zone behind him. Last spring, we started seeing a different guy. We started seeing the guy that we went into live scrimmages became a very good tackler, and he continued that into the fall. Then his sense of urgency and his confidence started to grow off of that, because all of a sudden, if you're on the field and if you're afraid, it's going to affect everything in your game. So the second you start to get some confidence that I know I can get a guy on the ground, now you can start to attack your coverage skills. Okay. Once that demon was removed, everything else followed.
How about Mike Smith? I meant to ask you about him too.
Mike Smith, I feel, is the same way. In terms of, so often the guys know what to do, but they have a hard time trusting themselves. And Mike was a guy that had to learn how he knew the answer to the test and just trust it and just give the proper answer. We know that Mike is a physical guy. His toughness was not in question. And just his ability to just let it go and just trust yourself, trust your instincts, and go out there and make the play. So again, he's another guy that as a staff we're proud of to see him go out there and represent us on Saturday.
This comes up every year in week one, but how tough is it to scout? I mean, they've got a running back who hasn't played in 2 years, a new coordinator and all that. How good is it to have any sort of feel? How hard is it to have any sort of feel on what they're going to do?
It's impossible to know what they're going to do. We've studied, all their games from a year ago. We studied where their coordinator came from a year ago. And really what we try to work on is we try to work on our rules. There's only so many ways you can line up. There's only so many plays that you can run. So what are our rules in our defense in terms of how we react to all those things? We spend a lot of time practicing what we do not see from our offense, because we practice against these set of plays for 4 weeks. What are some things that we have not seen that our offense did not ask us, that we can answer those questions? And then bottom line though, a year ago we made a bazillion mistakes in that opener. But what we made no mistake on is we ran to the ball and we bruised whoever we found with it. And we have to reestablish that from day one, and that'll make up for our errors in execution, which we know we'll have.
Do you have an idea right now of what John Ford might be able to handle as far as playing time in week one?
It's a good question, not just in terms of his physical conditioning, but also from his knowledge of the scheme. We'll find out, but I know this, we're not afraid to put anybody in the game that we think that can help us win.
Coach, how will you balance that, getting the older guys in the groove to get ready to go for the rest of the season, as well as giving the young guys some work?
I think it's a matter of what we tell our guys is our player development never stops. So whoever we think our best 11 are this weekend, or our best 22, that doesn't mean that they're going to be the best 11 the following weekend or the weekend after that. We saw that a year ago. You saw the way that Malik Young changed from where he was in September to where he was in November. So our players know that the evaluation process never ends. The developmental process never ends. We always strive to just continue to get better every day.
Thanks a lot.